I like that.
Me too.
You look like you're traveling through space.
I know it's hypnotic. I'm about to, yeah, fall in there.
I like that.
All about. Okay.
Carol, how was the conference you were just at?
It was very well attended and uh had a good turnout. And so yeah, it was a real good weekend.
Did you have some good weather or did you have rain or
Well, we were supposed to have a star party that night, but Mother Nature got in the way, so we brought it indoors.
yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah, that'll work. I
Yeah.
know when we used to do our regional conventions up in Indiana, when it did that, we would have movie night and we'd set up the whole auditorium with a big screen and show movies. People could stay up all night and watch movies if they wanted to. Of course, they
Yeah.
were the old B-rated sci-fi. Yeah. They-
How many times can you see the movie Contact over and over and over? Oh, oh,
Oh,
oh.
no, I go
Like
way
back to
back
back?
to It Came from Outer Space and,
Hmm.
the way backs, those black and white ones. Yeah. That was
Oh,
something we did on one of the buses when at an Alcon, we were traveling somewhere. We had a 2 hour ride, and the bus had a TV screen, and we played old sci-fi movies. And I thought we would die laughing all the way back. Everybody was enjoying the movies and making fun of the special effects. So that always
yeah.
helps.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Cool.
On November 1st, 2023, NASA's Lucy spacecraft flew by the main belt asteroid Dinkinesh. Now, the mission has released pictures from Lucy's long-range reconnaissance imager, taken over a roughly 3-hour period, providing the best views of the asteroid to date. During the flyby, Lucy discovered that Dinkinesh has a small moon, which the mission named Selam, a greeting in the Amharic language meaning peace. Dinkinesh is the smallest main belt asteroid ever encountered by a spacecraft and may have ejected the material that now forms Selam. Lucy will swing by Earth in December 2024 for its second gravity assist, boosting its orbit to reach Jupiter's Trojan asteroids in August 2027.
Well, hello everyone. This is Scott Roberts and Terry Mann. Terry from the Astronomical League, myself from Explore Scientific and the Explore Alliance. We're the proud production guys, I guess, for getting this wonderful program on the air. And Terry, it's nice to see you face to face again, and albeit through Zoom. I see that Barbara Harris is logging on right now, so she says, "Good evening, everyone." So, this is the 39th
I think
Astronomical
so.
League Live,
Yeah.
right? Right? And so wonderful. And what do we have in store tonight?
Yep. 39 months of Astronomical League. Yep. All right, Scott, thank you. It is a pleasure to see you also. It's been a while. And welcome everybody to this nice summer night. I don't know how it is where you're at, but it's plenty warm here, but I'm not complaining. We've got sunshine. So welcome again. And tonight we've got an amazing program for you. We have got David Levy that will open up for us and talk a little bit about some poetry, and Carol Orge, president of the league. He will talk a little bit about everything coming up on the league. And then we've got John Goss, and he is really going to talk about something everybody is talking about and wanting to know about. And then we have Dean Regas. It is such a pleasure to have Dean here, and he has got an excellent talk tonight. I'm really looking forward to everything. So before I go off the wall here talking, I'm going to let David Levy just take off. And would you please uh,
Thank you.
start us off?
Thanks, Terry and Scott. It is good to be here.
It'll be even better to be at Alcon next month in Kansas City. I'm really looking forward to that. I will be there from Wednesday evening all the way through Saturday, and really looking forward to it. Did any of you see Comet Olbers? As it's coming in right now for a perihelion at the end of June, it is about 7th magnitude right now. It's about as bright as it's going to get. I was lucky enough to spot it on Monday night with my friend David Rossiter. It was behind a tree. We didn't think we'd see it. And David looked through his telescope first and saw 2 stars and a fuzzy spot. And the fuzzy spot was the comet, right where it was supposed to be. And boy, did that mean everything to me. Comet Olbers is not what he's famous for, as I think we all know. Olbers is famous for his famous paradox, in which he says that the night sky has no business being dark. Olbers postulated that with the infinity of stars in the sky, every square inch of sky, no matter where you're looking, should light on the surface of a star. And the conclusion to that is that the night sky should be blindingly bright, and life should never have been allowed to evolve here on the Earth because of the night sky. The paradox is the night sky is not infinitely bright, it is dark, and life can evolve here. And here we are, all of us here at Astronomical League Live. And the paradox wasn't really confirmed until recently with Hubble's observations of the expanding universe, and with the Hubble Space Telescope and the Webb Space Telescope measuring the age of the universe. And so when most people think that the person who proved or disproved Olbers' paradox would have been Edwin Hubble, it was not. The person who came up with the theory that disproved Olbers' paradox was none other than someone with a lot of imagination, the poet Edgar Allan Poe. And I'm going to begin by quoting a little bit from The Raven. Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. Sir, said I, or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness, peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, Lenore. This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, Lenore, merely this, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though my crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly grim, an ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me why thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, a few decades ago, came to life when 2 ravens adopted Jean and Carolyn Shoemaker, and they were living nearby their house in Flagstaff. And of course, Jean and Carolyn had to call them Never and More. Anyway, the story about Edgar Allan Poe, aside, I could tell that he might have been thinking about the night sky being dark when he wrote The Raven, because the word darkness appears 3 times. I think in The Raven, the word darkness appears quite often. But he wrote something else. He wrote Eureka, a prose poem. He wrote it in 1848, and it was his last major work. And in it, he solved the problem of Olber's paradox. And here it goes. Since there could be absolutely no point in all that background at which would not exist a star, the only mode, therefore, in which, under such a state of affairs, we can comprehend the voids which our telescopes find in innumerable directions would be by supposing the distance of the invisible background so immense that no ray from it has yet been able to reach us at all. And that is the solution of Olber's paradox, found out by our famous poet, Edgar Poe. And thank you for letting me do this today. A little bit of a preview of Halloween, and I'd like to give it back to Terry. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We were just talking about old movies, and you know, when you started off, I could hear Bela Lugosi starting at the beginning of The Raven when he started to read that. But yeah, that is an amazing poem. Thank you very much. And maybe you ought to come back on the Halloween show and start us off that night with that poem.
I would love to.
We'll put you down there then. Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here too. And I look forward to seeing you in Kansas City next month.
Me too.
So, all right. How about if we go to Carol Orge? Carol's been on the road traveling around. He's been a busy guy. So he's been at a conference or two, and we've just all started off the year meeting other regions and talking to other people in the regions, getting to know everybody. So, Carol, how about if you give us an update on the league or anything else you would like to talk about?
Sounds good. And David, thanks so much for that beautiful poetry. And can't wait for Halloween next year to see what else you come up with. As Terry was saying, we've been doing lots of traveling lately, and it's nice to see that astronomy is thriving and in good shape as we go around our regions. I've been to one region within the last little bit, and we've really had some wonderful times with those. I'm going to share my screen. Still getting there. Okay. See anything yet?
Not
No,
yet, but
not yet.
we can tell it's coming.
All right,
Yeah.
sounds good. Okay. Sorry about that.
A little bit slow. This is probably more of an internet thing than anything.
Yeah, it may be. Okay.
I could have you try again. Let's see. Let me unshare and then go back to
Let's see if we
try,
can
try
share
sharing
that.
again.
All right. Here we go. All right. And
There you are. And just take it to presentation mode. You're all set.
all right. Okay. I'd like to talk some more about Alcon, just coming up in the next couple of weeks, actually 5 weeks from now.
There you go.
It'll be held next month. Does everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. It's be held July 17th through 20th in Kansas City. And we've got some nice speakers coming along. In the bottom right hand there, you'll see our website, Alcon 2024. We have got a great cast of speakers, including David, who will be at Linda Hall Library on Thursday night. And we're looking forward to that. As many of you know out there, Linda Hall is a scientific library in Kansas City. Some of you have been there at past conventions and looked through their rare book room. We will have that again available this year. In addition, though, we have a couple of wonderful surprises. As some of you may know, David has his whole collection of observing logs from the time he spent discovering comets. They're there in the custody of Linda Hall Library. In addition, the very first telescope he had is also there. And so we'll be hearing more about that and that presentation at the Linda Hall Library. You'll notice on the slide here, we have a couple of codes there. If you're interested in registering and haven't yet, in the upper right, there's the code. If you got your cell phone, just go ahead and log in there, and that'll tell you exactly how to get registered for Alcon. And below the second half, to the left, there is another code that will take you to the hotel reservation, which will be at the Doubletree and a suburb of Kansas City, Overland Park, Kansas. Another thing that we're doing this time, and it's something we haven't done at Alcons for lots of years, and Terry, when she was at her regional convention about a month ago or whatever it's been now, and we were at ours in the Mid-States region last week, we brought back the idea of having astrophotography contests. I know it used to be fairly commonplace, but we haven't done that in many years. It was extremely successful in both locations, and so we want to bring it back. Here's a sample of what the award categories are going to be. We're going to have the deep sky category, as well as the solar system, rich field, wide field, and then finally art and sketching. That's the pictures and that's the creativity. So people other than just astrophotographers can also get involved. We had some very creative ones in that last category at the convention I was just at last weekend. In addition, thanks to Vice President Chuck Allen's generosity and commitment to time, he's handling this for us. He did a superb job at those two conventions, and it really created a ton of interest. People were just like little kids. We had one person at our last convention who got a prize in more than one category, came out with 4 prizes, and he was really getting teased by his fellow colleagues. He was stealing all the prizes. But that's what you do when you have an observatory that you can go to fairly often. So we give him a bad time about that. But anyway, I would encourage you to get registered, first of all. And then secondly, on Thursday, check with Chuck and we will get you set up on being in the contest. And during about a 5 or 6 hour period on Friday, we will have it'll be open for attendees to make their choices. And these are really superb looking medallions. And it'll have the league logo on there. That's the one from one of the regions we were at last week. But thank you. It'll be a good time. It's just 5 or 6 weeks before Alcon starts. So I would encourage you to get registered now. We've got a full complement on Wednesday. We will go to the local planetarium at Gottlieb Planetarium at Union Stations. Some of you have heard of Union Station. If you're a football fan and have heard of the Kansas City Chiefs, that's where they tend to congregate for special events. And but we also have a planetarium there, and for our purposes, that's more important. Then on Thursday, as I said earlier, we go to Linda Hall. Friday, we have the traditional Starbecue at the Arboretum in Overland Park, and then we'll go down to Powell Observatory. And if the weather works out, and hopefully it does, we will have a talk at Powell Observatory. Rachel, who has been on this program before, she's going to be our speaker down there, Rachel Cianati, and she is a graduate student and always brings a tremendous amount of new research to the table. So we're really looking forward to that. And finally, then on Saturday, we have our gala banquet with our award ceremony. And by the way, we will be streaming the entire convention. So if attending is maybe not a convenient option for you, the virtual option is there, and you will get to see those programs as well. So I would encourage you to, if that you're not available to actually attend in person, use the other option. And I think that's it for now. I'll stop stream sharing and back to you, Terry.
Thank you, Carol. Carol, one thing, our business meeting, that is where you will announce everything new and improved for the league.
Yes,
When
and that
is
will
that
be on
Friday?
That'll be on Friday. That'll be on Friday.
Yeah.
So,
So go ahead.
yeah, so we'll have all the news, everything that's happened at our council meeting, which begins on Wednesday. It's the full day on Wednesday. And so that'll, I encourage you to attend that. We will have also on Friday, our youth winners will be giving their presentations. And besides Dovid's talk at Linda Hall and his presentation on Wednesday, we also will have a presentation at the lunch hour for Dovid. I believe that's on Friday, and he will be having his books available there for signing. And so we're really looking forward to see what's new and improved there. So
And it will be a lot of fun. And there's a lot of amazing speakers. I know there's some from the local university, David. I mean, there is a fantastic lineup there too. Are you looking? I can't remember. I know Tim Russ will be there, but I don't
Tim Russ will
remember.
be there. Also, in fact, let me get my list because I don't want to leave anybody out. I won't go through all of them.
I should have had my list in front of
Robert
me.
Reeves will be there as far as talking about the moon, and the list just goes on and on. In fact, our speaker from Brown University, he is a jazz musician, and so we're going to have a treat. He'll be playing jazz along with our local jazz band at the barbecue, not the barbecue, at the banquet. So a little bit for everybody. And I'd encourage you to go on alcon2024.org, has a complete listing of all this.
We'll all have a great time. I guarantee you. We always have a good time in KC.
Yeah.
So,
and we'll try to, we have a reputation. We get a little rowdy at times, but that's okay.
well, that's a good thing. We have fun. So
That's
everybody
right.
join us that can. I guarantee you will have a good time. So Carol, thank you very much for the update. Appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you. It's been a while since I've seen you too.
That's right. See you then.
All right. All right. Now we have another really interesting talk. John and I were talking earlier. I think everybody is interested in your topic. Most people are interested in your topic because it is really a rare event. So John Goss is a past president of the league, and he is our current media officer. He does all these great graphics you see. He does an amazing job, and he does all of the maps for the Facebook pages, all the challenges. So John, thank you for everything you do. It is amazing to have that talent, which I don't have. So, we appreciate you being there. So I will let you go ahead and get started with your talk.
Thank you, Terry. As she said, that we're going to be talking about a topic tonight that is a lot of people have been mentioning, but I don't think enough people have been mentioning. So I'm going to just get right in on it, see what I can do, see what harm I can bring with it. First of all, you're going to hear a little bit more about Alcon, but I won't cover this much in depth because Carol already has. But it's going to be a great show, and he was talking about some of the speakers. Well, I have a list of some of them. I think there are 12 people here, and I believe there are 19 speakers, but I couldn't get everybody on here, and I didn't have everybody's picture, so sorry you didn't make it. But today I had a nice conversation with Robert Reeves, who's kind of in the center there, and he's going to be talking about the moon. It's going to be fascinating. Yesterday I had a kind of a pre-presentation interview with Alison Kirkpatrick. Now that is one presentation I want to see. She's going to be talking about the evolution and formation of supermassive black holes and galaxies, galaxy evolution, things like that. So that's cutting edge stuff. And of course, David Livy. That's going to be a very fascinating talk. Each time he speaks, you're always going to learn something. And as you can see, there are a number of other people there as well. I'm not going to go through everybody here, but there are a whole bunch of pretty good speakers there. So I recommend going to Alcon and see this. That's enough about Alcon for right now. Um, a lot of you know that when I speak on these subjects, I like to really address them kind of from a more personal viewpoint, and that's how I'm going to start out with this. You'll see where I'm going rather quickly. Many years ago, when I started out in amateur astronomy, I was in 8th grade, and there wasn't a whole lot of material out there that would help you, that would really help you with observing. But here was one source, the classic Norton Star Atlas. And I used it and I used it and I used it. And here is one thing that I came across. Took out one of the pages, looked at it. This is back in 1968, which I didn't know a whole lot, but something kind of caught my eye when I went through the atlas. Here we have a star called T Corona Borealis. So you can see the line there. It's something called a peculiar star, an irregular variable star. What was that all about? Well, this is back in 1968, and this atlas was made many years before that. It gave a little description of what the star was all about. It's called the Blaze Star. It erupted or brightened significantly last time in 1946, and it might do so again. So keep your eyes peeled for this star. Well, here we are nearly since 1946, but at 78 years later, we'll be talking about that. Go to the next page on the atlas, and here's the star chart. Help you find it. Corona Borealis, easy constellation to find. I won't go into too much detail on how to find it, but as you can see, its brightest star is called Gemma. And its brightness, if you're not really familiar with amateur astronomy, you wonder how bright these things are, how dim they are. Well, just about everybody knows how bright the Big Dipper is. Well, Gemma is about the same brightness as the major stars in the Big Dipper, so it's pretty easily seen. But that nova in 1866 is what we're looking at, T. That's going to be the star we're going to be focusing on tonight. And it's there in Corona Borealis. Later on in my life, I came across this book. Very interesting book by David Levy, who is on our screen someplace off to my side. Hi, David. Thank you for this book. And each time I've been to an Alcon, I've wanted to bring it, but I've always forgotten it because I thought, I bet I can get David to autograph it for me. But anyway, this is a great book. Gotta be at Alcon to do that. But it's a good beginner book on variable stars. And one of the stars he talked about was T Corona Borealis. And he gave a map, which I flipped upside down and got a picture of and put it on here. I did that in this way because he had a rotated image in his book, because that's the way you see a lot of things through reflecting telescopes. But I wanted north up and east to the left on this, so I rotated it. But you can see it's this is about a 2-degree field of view. So it's about a degree from epsilon, which is visible to the unaided eye, down to T Corona Borealis, and he draws sort of a dipper-shaped pattern of stars that you can hop along to find this particular star. So what's going on with this star? Why are we even talking about it? Well, it appears that, astronomers are pretty strongly convinced that it is a binary system composed of a red giant and a white dwarf. White dwarfs are really small and red giants are really big. So you got this big bloated star next to this hot little star. It's about it's about one. It's less than 1 astronomical unit away between each other. So you have the red giant's outer atmosphere, which is tenuous and kind of loosely held, getting pulled away by the intense gravitational field of the white dwarf. It goes on year after year of a little bit of this material being pulled away, the plasma, which is, that's to say, the hydrogen, helium, and other elements being pulled onto that white dwarf. After a certain length of time, enough junk gets accumulated around that white dwarf that its temperature increases enough to start a thermonuclear reaction. So what happens then? Here we are. What's going to happen? Well, this is what we hope is going to happen. So you have that white dwarf erupt, go nova, as they so to speak, igniting all this fuel pretty much all at once. Turns very bright in the sky. Typically, we see this white dwarf and the red giant together as being a combined magnitude of 10-ish, which is far, far too dim to be seen with the unaided eye. But when that explosion takes place, it rapidly increases rapidly. I mean, like just a few hours, increases from very, very dim, very far below the naked eye visibility to a second magnitude star, which is the same brightness as Gemma, which I was talking about earlier, about the same brightness as the stars of the Big Dipper. Now we can look at a chart here. It'll explain it, the time sequence of what we're looking at a little bit more closely. We're going to go back. I was going to go back to May 12th, 1866, but that's just too far away. So I'm not going to talk much about that. But it was seen on that night to brighten as well. So up about 1935, the star was 11-ish magnitude, and it brightened up to 10.5, 10.3, remained there for about 7 or 8 years, and then dropped in magnitude, got dimmer for a short period, for, I don't know, 12 months, a year and a half, something like that. And then it ignited, shot up to 12th, or excuse me, second magnitude pretty quickly, like overnight, remained there for, I think, less than a day, and then dimmed back down. And it had a secondary eruption, which is, I'm not going to talk about because I don't know anything about it. But anyway, so you can have that dimming of the star after it exploded. So you go on from 1955, it remains dimmed, maybe 10.3, 65, 75, which is where I came to the scene with my Norton Star Atlas, 1985, 95, 2005. But now we have a brightening of 2015. It started to brighten a little bit, just like it did in 1935. Went for about 7 or 8 years. And now we're in March 2023. It started to dim again, just like it did earlier. And today it is still dimming, and it's about a magnitude 10.3-ish, something like that. But the forecast is, by those people in the know, feeling that over the next few months, it's going to rapidly increase, and we're going to have another nova eruption. Let me see what we got here. Okay, sorry. So the Astronomical League has been publicizing some of this stuff. And I have here a slide which spotlights the work by Dr. Brad Schaefer of LSU. And here is a website which talks about, through the AAVSO, it's a website which gives a webinar which tells all about this stuff. Here I am just spending a few minutes on it. Well, he spends an hour telling you all about this stuff, its history, what they believe physically is happening, and all the cool stuff about this star. So I encourage you to look at this. Also, the League has an observing challenge. We have a little sheet here which tells you how to find the star, gives you on this challenge, and let's look a little more closely at it. Gives you a website for complete information on this observing challenge program. There's the website, and it's on the League's website. So if you don't get it here, just go to the astroleague.org and you'll plow through it. You'll find it. But it's a program in which you don't have to be a member of the Astronomical League to do. You have to find the star before it erupts. So you better do it soon, because we don't know exactly when it's going to erupt. But you better do it soon. Find that star, just identify it. Then after the big day comes and there it is, blown to smithereens, look at it again and just give your impressions on what it's all about. There's a part 2 to this, which is it's a little bit more involved. You have to be a League member for that. You have to log on to the AAVSO website to find out all the details about its eruption, and you need to observe it preferably through a V filter. V means visual, meaning that it lets light in from 500 to 700 nanometers. So that gives a more precise reading of it. So go on the League website, find this page, see if you can follow it through. Now, this is another website for right now. It's on the AAVSO on this particular star. And I will zoom in there. You'll see a little bit more what I need to say here. It gives you the Julian date and the calendar date. And as you can see, there are a whole bunch of readings. And it turns out that these readings, each successive reading is only about 30 30 seconds apart. So right now, this is taken this afternoon. So I don't know what it's doing right now. Hopefully it hasn't erupted since then. But right now it is around magnitude 10.1, 10.2, 10.3 with a V filter, and the observer is a WGR. I don't know who that is, but person seems to be getting into this, has a lot of readings on it. So keep your eyes on this website, and it'll show you if that star is really brightening. And look at the visual filter. And it should be 10.1, 10.2, 10.3, something like that. That's pretty much what it has been for quite a while. So there you have it. Keep your eye on Corona Borealis for a new star. Now, I'm looking at this picture here. I wanted to really kind of spotlight this picture because not so much of Corona Borealis, but a friend of mine, John Winskovich, took this photograph on May 10th. Remember May 10th? That was the night of the spectacular aurora. And he wasn't meaning to take one of Corona Borealis. He just happened to get it in this picture. But you can see at least on my screen, you can see the orange and green streaks going across it. And that's not a photographic error. That's the nova, not the nova. That's the aurora. Hopefully it'll be a nova someday, but that's the aurora in this. But anyway, keep that all in mind and see if you can find this star, practice with the League's program, and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I know nothing about this, but it's one thing I want to do this because I think it's something very special to see. So, Scott, I'm going to ask a question, and do me a favor, kind of watch for the answers to come in. I know Dr. Barb Harris is out there. I don't have a V filter. What do I do? I know it's a visual, but if you don't have it, and that's what they recommend, can somebody out there answer that question? What would a person without the filter do? Just do it without the filter?
I think so. Well, for one of those levels of the League program, just do it visually. You don't need the filter for
Right.
that. But to get more meaningful readings, so you got to have a narrow limit the wavelengths that you can see, because the unaided eye sees more on either side, but not a whole lot more. So this narrows it down and gives it precisely. These filters, they just screw on filters to your eyepiece, but they're not cheap. I mean,
Yeah.
I think I saw excess of $100 just for this one type of filter.
Yeah.
But you're right. This is an exciting thing because this is something that should be, at least I think, on everybody's bucket list, astronomy bucket list,
Definitely.
because you may never see something like this. You probably will never see this star do it again, or you may never see a nova from any other star because they aren't very common. But it's
Right.
something to check off your list. So
Yeah, definitely. Especially, I can walk outside and see the constellation every night that it's clear, and so I find myself every night I go out and I'm looking up, just checking to
it's
make
clear
sure.
tonight. It's clear
But
tonight.
that's something I would like to do the second level if I possibly could.
Well, there you have it.
So Barbara is, she says she's out every clear night, getting data of this, of T Corona Borealis. But she says also you can use a DSLR or an OSC camera and extract the green channel. It's very similar to the visual channel or V channel. So,
Okay. That sounds great. Thanks, Barb. I appreciate that. She has done some incredible variable star work. I knew she would have an answer. So yeah, that's good to know because a lot of people anymore have dedicated astro cameras or DSLRs or, anything that they could use if they wanted to try the second level on there. But you do have to be an Astronomical League member for the level 2. So, well, John, thank you. This will be really exciting. We're going to have an AL live show dedicated to what has happened, after it does happen, get some feedback from everybody. So that would be fantastic. And I also see Dean, did you say you've written an article, Dean? Okay.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I just had one for the Farmer's Almanac. So I put a link to that in the chat. I don't know if that goes somewhere, but yeah, look up Farmer's Almanac and the Corona Borealis and put a little info in there. I can't wait to see it. This is going to be exciting. I keep looking every night. So just got to happen one of these times, right?
Yeah, it's got to. So yeah. Well, Thank you, John. And Dean, thank you for being here tonight. I know everybody knows you, but I'm going to read just a little bit about you. So, Astronomer Dean Regas shares his adventure as the astronomer in residence at the Grand Canyon. What it's like to live there, work, and hike in America's most, what is it like? I'm sorry, what is it like to work, live, and hike in America's most famous national park? Dean gives amazing tales of exploring the canyon and the night sky, as well as a preview of the annual Grand Canyon Star Party, which is a week-long telescope festival under the Milky Way. He also highlights visits to other national parks like Joshua Tree, Bryce Canyon, Crater Lake, and Yosemite. And Dean, I think you would agree with me, there is nothing like being under truly dark skies.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yes, well, welcome. I will let you go ahead and start.
Well, thanks very much, and good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for having me here to talk about astronomy in the national parks. And for those who haven't met me before, my name is Dean Regas. I started my career in astronomy working at a planetarium, a little 20-seat, maybe 20-seat, probably more like 16-seat planetarium, and then was a longtime astronomer for the Cincinnati Observatory. And then also was the co-host of the PBS show Stargazers that took over, picked up the mantle from Jack Horkheimer for 9 years. And so for me, astronomy is definitely not just a hobby. This is not just a career. This is, well, it's my lifestyle. It's affected everything that I do pretty much because I am one of those rare breeds that's star crazy. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm not that rare because I think everybody else on the screen is probably the same way. So I'm in good company, I think, with a lot of folks here. But there is one thing about astronomers is when you get hooked pretty good. And so I've been really lucky to be able to have some really cool astronomical experiences, including working with the national parks, because the national parks have been making an effort to do night sky programming. There's the famous tagline, half the park is after dark. And they have really embraced the night sky, the dark sky, as an attraction in itself. And in my time working with the Grand Canyon, especially, I've been there for 7 of their star parties. That's 7 annual star parties every June. And then I've been out there twice as kind of a stints as astronomer in residence. Uh, One of the amazing things that I found was that if I set up a telescope in a public place and let people come and do more like sidewalk astronomy, and I show people the planets and the stars and that kind of thing, they are incredibly blown away. And for folks that have done sidewalk astronomy, I know you probably have experienced this. This is really amazing, moving thing. You get people excited that didn't think they were going to get excited about astronomy. But one thing that was different about doing this at the Grand Canyon was I heard several people say seeing the night sky was better than seeing the Grand Canyon. And like the way one of them said it was like, this is the best part about my trip. And I'm literally, the canyon is right behind me. And I'm like, did you see the canyon too? I mean, they're like, yeah, this is better than that. And so that's what working with the parks has really kind of opened my eyes to this, is that this is something that people don't get to experience in their normal lives, and they will travel for it and really be moved by it afterwards. So I'm going to share my screen. Well, I want to share a few photos and some stories from Grand Canyon and a few other places. So let me share my screen. Let's see how this goes. Hopefully it goes smoothly. All right. Well, there's my website. That's one thing. Okay, that's good. All right. How about that? Can you see my PowerPoint okay, everybody out there? Well,
Yep.
what do you think? I got it? Okay, just double checking because I can't see anybody else now, so I have no idea what's going on. So this is my picture from the Grand Canyon, and this is when I was their astronomer in residence. And what that meant was that I got to live and work in the canyon for about a month doing astronomy programming and education mostly. So that's on the South Rim and hiking down to Phantom Ranch down at the river at the bottom of the canyon. And so these experiences really changed my entire life and my perspective on things, because I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. So this is a urban location, and then coming out to live in one of the more remote places, one of the darker places. I gotta be honest with you, it changed my outlook on uh, cities. And I'm sorry, but I'm gonna do all I can to like live more there in those kind of places than in cities. I need to have some dark skies. Well, plus also for anybody in Ohio, that's cloudy half the time. So at least in Arizona, it's cloudy 10% of the time or something like that. But I also have been doing a podcast. If you get podcasts, check this out. It's called Looking Up with Dean Regas. We have new episodes every 2 weeks where I interview guests and people. And I need to interview some astronomical league people for this. I think we should talk about Alcon. We should have okay. Let me think about that. But anyway, wherever you get your podcasts, check those out. I'm also the author of 6 books, including 100 Things to See in the Night Sky, 1,000 Facts About Space, and my semi-controversial How to Teach Grown-Ups About Pluto. This is the illustrated guide for kids to walk their traumatized adults through the loss of a planet. So, as you can maybe imagine, I think it's funny, but I guess some people don't think it's funny. But I think it's a fun look at how science works and how it changes. And also, I don't know if you've ever seen a kid's book that has the 5 stages of grief illustrated. So you can follow along to see where you are in your Pluto process from denial, hopefully to acceptance on the end. So check those out wherever you get your books. I think I have another random slide here first. I can't remember if I put this next or not. Let's see if we get this one here. How'd this one get in here? Does anybody on the panel recognize this? Whoop, too far. Well, this was a kind of a candid taken of me and David Levy at an eclipse in 2006. No, doesn't look familiar. Oh man, well, that was memorable for me at least. This was in Greece, seeing the eclipse in 2006, and I don't know where I just stumbled upon this. I was like, oh, I got to put this in here. That's pretty good. So that's going on 18 years now. Anyway, let's get back to the Grand Canyon, because this is one of the most amazing places to see and experience, and so many people visit here. There's about 5 million visitors come through the Grand Canyon every year, and so there's the view from the south rim, and most people never go down below the rim. They go to the overlooks, and that's about it. Because the Grand Canyon does have a thing to it. It's bigger than you think. It's so massive. It's so extensive. It's kind of a little scary too. I mean, looking down there, I'm not afraid of heights, but this is such a huge thing. You can't even wrap your brain around it. And so looking down in the canyon is so vast. So from one side to the other is about 15 miles or so, and that's about a mile deep. And you see these little trees and these little structures down here. That's 5 miles away. That's only halfway down to the river, basically. So it is just humongous and spectacular. And so I was able to hike down to the bottom to the river also, which was really amazing. And I'll hopefully have time to talk a little bit more about that as we go along, and seeing some of the other views of the canyon. It just was spectacular. And so going out there is really, it's an American thing to do, but there's also a lot of people from a lot of different countries that come to this too. And as busy as it can get, this is the busiest spot. This is called Mather Point. This is where everybody goes to watch the sunset. But this is the only place where I felt like there's a crowd. Like you can get away from all those people very, very quickly and get your own kind of views of the canyon. And especially once it gets dark. After 5 o'clock, the park almost empties out. And after sunset, you have the place to yourself. And so 35 years ago, they started this thing called the annual the Grand Canyon Star Party. And it's a week-long program where they do stargazes. Oh, yeah, there's one of the talks. All right, we'll go back to this one first, because uh, this is one of the big things about this is that for 8 nights, and this year it was June 1st to June 8th, where they have amateur astronomers and professional astronomers set up their telescopes for the public to look at, and they have a nightly talk outside now. That's where they have the talks, and you have about 500, 600 people come to the talks, and more than 1,000 people a night coming to telescope viewing. And so the kind of the parks are really involved in this and really do the main planning, but it's also in conjunction with the Tucson Amateur Astronomy Association in Tucson, Arizona, and other people come from San Diego and from Phoenix and from other places as well. And the nights that I was there this past year, they had 57 telescopes on average that were out there. So 57 telescopes for the public to see. And this is the ranger who kind of heads it up. His name is Raider Lane. And he is just a whirlwind of excitement and interest in this, and is like, really keeps this thing going. And so it's thanks to him that this thing is like really, I think, as successful as it goes. So this is my talk from last year where, we got hundreds and hundreds of people out there. It's this kind of cool festival atmosphere. And at night, they're sitting out there watching the stars and watching you. And then you go around the corner to where the telescopes are. So here's the telescope lot. And so it's not the darkest part in the park, but it is accessible. And I think that's the main thing, is that people can kind of come around the corner and then look through telescopes. And we also do green laser constellation talks. So you can point a green laser up at the constellations and do some stories about those. This was back last fall when I was there, and this was when there was a rocket launch going across the sky. And you really just get in touch with kind of the things going on in the canyon as well. Double rainbow. By the way, the double rainbow and this rocket launch happened on the same, like within hours of each other. It was like a weird, it was such a cool night because it was raining, and I thought, oh, how am I going to give a talk outside when it's raining? And then it cleared, and then it had the rainbow, and then it had the rocket launch. And it's one of those things where if I was inside at my house in Cincinnati, I wouldn't notice these things, or if it'd be like just being outside and being out in the elements really helped out with this. So they also do a star party at the North Rim that whole those 8 days as well. So this is the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, which is about a 4-hour drive around. And so this was pictures from 2 years ago, but I did this also just last week. I was out at the North Rim. So I did 3 days working at the South Rim, 2 days at the North Rim, one back around to the South again. And the North Rim is quite a bit different of a feel to it. It's 1,000 feet higher in elevation, so a lot cooler, a lot more trees, and you're also pushed back away from the canyon a little bit. So the canyon's more extensive from this direction, and you're looking down on the other things. So here's a view from the lodge. You're out from the Bright Angel Point in the North Rim. And so it just was a memorable time to be out there, and it's a much smaller event there. So in the South Rim, you have your 1,000 people a night. Here, it's more like 150 people a night or so. But still, it's pretty much anybody that's in the park, that's what they're going to come and do and look at this. So just last week also, after I went to the North Rim, then I went to Bryce Canyon in Utah, where they have their star party, their annual star party, which is usually also in June as well. So you can kind of go from one to the other in 1 week. And so Bryce Canyon is known for those beautiful rock formations, those very unique rock formations, but is also one of the darkest skies in the country. So once it gets dark, it gets really, really dark. And so this was another great event to see this. And it's mostly the amateur astronomers from the Salt Lake City area that set up the telescopes for these kind of things and are able to see this from. So the routine that I usually go into with this is wake up early because I'm usually on Eastern time when I'm out there. So I wake up before everybody else and get out, do some hikes, go home, nap, eat dinner, go out, stargaze all night. So it was pretty much the routine I was in from June 1st through June 8th through all this. And so it was a lot of fun to be able to go out there and see Bryce Canyon again as well. So those are the two star parties that I just recently went to and have been to quite a few times. But there's other parks that do things as well and that do night sky programs, including Crater Lake National Park in Oregon. Now, this is one of the most beautiful little parks. And I say little because it's not as extensive as the Grand Canyon or anything like that. But it's one of those really special places to me, at least, because I think of I used to volunteer here at Crater Lake back in the early 2000s, where I would like walk the trails and that kind of thing, and answer questions and talk to visitors. And then, so I've spent quite a few months over a few years at this park, and so I know it pretty well. It's just such a beautiful park. Seeing this crystal clear blue lake from all different angles, it's just a really magical place. And so lots of people similarly, they drive to the overlooks, they take a look, and then they drive out. Not very many people stay the night. And it's in Central Oregon, so it's kind of away from things a little bit. And so you get some pretty nice dark skies as well. But just the picturesque views of this is just incredible. And you can hike up to the highest point, what's called Mount Scott, and get a nice look over everything. There's a fire lookout there, and you can see the lake in the distance. So this is an old, oh yeah, and then you go swimming. I'll get to that in a second. So this is an old caldera. Basically, this was a mountain that rose up another mile higher. So picture the kind of like the mountain slope would have gone up to there and up to there. So this would have been something, the size of like Mount Hood or Mount Rainier. And that part just blew up. And the leftover part collapsed into the caldera, and then water eventually filled it up. And it's one of the deepest lakes in the world and one of the most pristine waters in the world, too. So just seeing that during the daytime is really incredible. And then going swimming. So now here's the good news, the good news is you can kind of swim in it now. It is freezing cold. That's not me jumping into the water, by the way. I caught somebody jumping off a cliff into it. Ridiculous. I could barely do that. Because usually the water is around 58 degrees, really, really cold. But it is much warmer today, like a lot warmer, like bearable. And that's something. Can't say exactly why, but you probably know. So it is swimmable at least a little more now, but I'm not jumping into it. That's crazy. That's too much. So then at nighttime, they do stargazes out there. They have rangers that lead programs about once a week where they tell you what's up in the sky. They do a presentation, then they take you outside to the telescopes. And it's just it's up by the lodge. This is the lodge by Crater Lake. So highly encourage you all to check that out, check that park out as well. So I want to go over a couple other parks here. Oh, here's the telescope set up at night with a nice Big Dipper in the background. And so rangers do these programs about once a week or so at Crater Lake. So this October, and I'm sorry I'm going a little fast. I had so many parks in here I wanted to cover. But hopefully hopefully this is going at a good speed for you here. I also realized that seeing people's travel slides, you might have how many do I have? 500? No, I'm just kidding. But I'll try to go through them here, and then if we can definitely pause if people have some questions and that type of thing about individual parks. But I just wanted to kind of give a nice little overview. And Joshua Tree is another really cool star festival that they do every year, usually in October, sometimes September. And so this year it's going to be October 3rd and through 5th. And I'll be out there doing programs and presentations as well. This is the park in California, just a few hours east of Los Angeles. and with the, of course, iconic trees and really cool rock formations. And so daytime again, I get in the thing of getting up early, hiking before it gets 105 degrees, and then nighttime where we do the stargazing. And so that's another really cool one to put on your calendar if you haven't done it before. And then Big Bend National Park in Texas also has a star party as well. And there's varies. Usually, I think it's in May is where the star party is, and it's outside of Big Bend, so it's not right in the park. But this was I went there last fall, and this was one of the you don't. I never had been to it before this last fall because it's kind of a little bit out of the way, but it is one of the darkest skies you will ever see as you're walking around at night. In it's just one of the clearest skies and one of the darkest skies too. So another place that you can put on your list of places to go see and do some stargazing at. Just beautiful location in Texas. That's a view from the stars, and it's a little pixelated, but still a very, very dark spot. So the other thing that I wanted to kind of look at here is I don't know, how are we doing on time? Are we doing okay? I don't want to keep people too long, but what do you think? How are we doing on time
You're
out there?
doing fine. You're doing
Doing good?
fine. Yeah,
Good.
still good.
Because I wanted to give you kind of like an overview of what different parks are doing. There's the Badlands also do star parties and stargazes. Arches National Park in Utah does it. Shenandoah in Virginia does one every year as well. So the parks are really kind of embracing this. Yosemite, Glacier, they all kind of have this. So if you do your traveling and you are going to a national park, double check their websites and double check their schedules, because chances are you might be there when they're going to be doing some stargazing. So I thought what I'd do with the last part was to kind of go into a little bit more depth about my time when I was the astronomer in residence at the Grand Canyon and living and working in the park. And so the way this program kind of started is from the Grand Canyon Conservancy, which is the support organization for the park. So it's the nonprofit that kind of helps with some of the programming, helps with some of the other things. And so the program is called the Astronomer in Residence Program, and they are accepting applications. So for next year, so maybe I'll convince some people to try, because it really was amazing to apply for this and to get it. So I think the applications go through mid-July. So, but check out Astronomer Residence Program, and you can find the application to join. So I was the second astronomer in residence. They have an artist in residence program also. But they just started this astronomer in residence thanks to that ranger that I showed you earlier. His name is Raider Lane, and Raider was kicking around this idea of having astronomers live in the park. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And so it was really a great honor to be able to do this. And so I made the drive from Cincinnati to, El Tovar. That's pretty much, I stayed in a little apartment next to the hotel, next to the Rim. And so this was my 28 hours, 27-hour journey through across the country, because of course I had to bring all my telescopes with me too. I'm going to be out there for a month. I got to bring some telescopes. And so I made that trip, which was by myself, a little long, and so a little tired here in this picture. I think it's my first picture at the rim of the Grand Canyon when I first got there. And this is the apartment that I got to stay at. It's the top of one of the visitor centers. So up there is the apartment. So I had a little balcony, and the view is that basically. So I have the best view in the whole park of any hotel guest, of anything like that. And so it's got all the creature comforts of a bathroom, kitchen, bed, all that kind of stuff. So there's my view from the balcony. So every morning I wake up to see that and eat my breakfast at the table. So it just was amazing. So I brought a telescope with me. This is one of the telescopes I brought with me. This is just a 5-inch refractor. And I did a lot of solar viewing during the day. So as people would walk by, they could use the telescope and look through and see sunspots. And I had a hydrogen alpha filter on it too, so you could see solar prominences and eruptions on the sun. And this was a really popular thing to do, is people are just walking by looking at the canyon. And again, this was one of those things where people looked through this, saw the sun safely, and just were blown away by that while the canyon is right there next to them. So astronomy can be really powerful, even in one of the most beautiful locations. So there's the safe solar viewing spot overlooking the canyon. And then the sunsets were gorgeous from my little perch there, and seeing just how the light and shadow changes from day to day. So you really become kind of immersed in this world of things. And so I did a lot of astronomy programs at night as well. So constellation talks and talks inside of the buildings. And then, of course, viewing through the telescopes at night. And so it just was really nice and dark. And again, coming from Cincinnati, where it's cloudy half the time, I was there. Only 2 of the nights were clouded out of 30. I mean, that were completely clouded out. So I was also there during a lunar eclipse, a partial lunar eclipse in 2021. So that was, did I time that on purpose? Yeah, I probably did time that on purpose. I think that's the dates they gave me. And I was like, well, I'll come for the eclipse. And so I got to see that from there as well, which is cool to see. I've got a few, I need some astrophotography help. I need to talk to some of you guys to give me some tips and pointers. But anyway, those are some of the pictures I took. Yeah, I think I took that one. Oh, that was just with my phone. So you could see Orion there, and Taurus there, and the Seven Sisters there as well. So it was a beautiful thing to see while I'm there at the Grand Canyon as well. So then it came to the point where part of my trip is to go down into the canyon itself. And so I was going to hike down all the way to the little community. It's the bottom of the canyon where the lake or where the river is, called Phantom Ranch. And so this is the trail. I didn't take this trail down. This is the trail I took up. And this is one little zigzag of it. It goes behind this rock and then comes up over here. But this is the kind of thing that I'm looking at thinking, how in the world am I going to be able to do this? And so I practiced. I did a lot of training hikes, a lot of walking around up and down a little bit, back and forth a little bit, getting ready for this. And so this is where I give you the inside scoop. If you ever want to go down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, I had help. Because the plan was I was going to stay 4 nights down at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And so that would mean bringing 4, 5, 6 days of stuff down there. I wasn't quite too excited about that. So the plan ended up being was, well, because I was there as a guest of the national parks, and that they said, well, we can send your stuff down for you. I was like, really? Oh, yeah. All right. How much is stuff? They said, oh, we can send it all down. Oh, all right. So don't tell anybody. I don't know if I don't know if anybody else can do it. They were just it was part of the deal, and they said, yeah, we'll send it down on mules, and it'll be there when you get there, and you can just carry a little day pack. Well, they actually said carry 2 days worth of food in case the mules are late, because they can be late. I mean, that's the basic way that they get anything down to the bottom of the canyon is mules, a little bit of boats, and a little bit of helicopters, but it's mostly mules that send stuff down. So I was going pretty light as far as things go, and then you have to, well, you still got to walk that 9 miles down, 4,200 vertical feet. So you still got to do that. But definitely, it was about as easy and as nice as it was going to be for me. So here's the trail going down, the switchbacks at the beginning, which is a little harrowing. And then you get to a place called Ooah Point where you're starting to get into it a little bit. And then a little bit farther, and you pass some of the mules that are coming up or down. And a lot of people were asking, well, why didn't you just ride the mules? Because that's what people do as well. But I have heard, well, no, I've seen, when you're at the bottom, you can tell who's rode the mules and who's not because they walk pretty funny. So it took me about 5 hours to walk down to the bottom. And so, yeah, I just was thinking, boy, if I was several hours on the back of a mule, plus I think it's scary. I think they're like walking along a precipice the whole time. And I just think, yeah. So these are some of the pictures as I'm walking down, and you're entering into this like new world, this place. You're very, very isolated, because there's very, very few people that are going down there. There was this, I'll go back up to this picture here, there's a side trail that went this way for another 40 miles before it reached anything. So if you wanted to really get away from things, that you went that way. Yeah, well, we went down instead. And so then you get your views of the Colorado River as you get closer and closer to it. And you can finally see the little community. That's the little community down here called Phantom Ranch. So you come around the bend, and then you got to hike across this gorgeous bridge across the Colorado River, and then into Phantom Ranch there. So you actually go through a tunnel first to go across the bridge, and then you're there. Now, one of the other pluses is that I got a place to stay. I didn't have to sleep on the ground. I didn't have to sleep in a tent. I got my own cabin with bathroom, shower, bed, heat, air. Did I have air conditioning? I don't know. Yeah, they might have air conditioning. Anyway, all I can say is my camping days are over. So this was perfect that I could, just kind of hike down. Like the roughing it is the hiking. I don't want the roughing it to be the sleeping. So plus I'd have to work at night too. So this is kind of some of the views from down there at the bottom. And you are like in this most isolated place. And a lot of people do ask, they say, well, if you're in the bottom of the Grand Canyon, you can't see very many stars, right? Well, the canyon walls are very steep and very tall, but they only block a certain amount because they're still pretty far away from you. The actual walls are. So you can still see quite a bit of the sky. You just can't see quite all the way down the horizon. But it is like this little oasis in the desert. It's like this like Eden down there with these trees, this little water stream coming through. And so this is the place where I was giving my talks out at night in their little amphitheater. And so people that were staying down there in their in cabins and tents, and so pretty much anybody that was there came to the night sky events because we have a telescope that was down there. I didn't have to carry the telescope, which is nice. And so then we got to see the stars. So I gave some talks and then viewing with the telescopes. And so it was just amazing to wake up to this place, this kind of almost alien landscape, and then at nighttime get to use a telescope and see the stars of the Milky Way arching across the canyon. That was just so memorable. And my pictures are not going to do it justice whatsoever. But the part that I really liked was when I would walk home at night. So I give my program up at the amphitheater, and then I had a half-mile walk back to my cabin in the dark, pitch black, headlamp, sure. But I remember the first night walking back, well, first being kind of scared to death that I was going to take a wrong turn and end up somewhere. But I remember as I get rounded one bend and I could just see the belt stars of Orion come up between the canyon walls. And that's what Elise shows in this picture. There's Orion's belt right there coming through this notch. And I just will never forget that, walking back through this super dark place and seeing Orion say hi to me as it's coming around. So I was there for 4 nights, and then I did this again in last September for 4 nights as well. It's just a magical place down there. I was there for Thanksgiving the first time, so we had Thanksgiving outside. It was warm enough to eat outside. So having Thanksgiving at the bottom of the Grand Canyon was pretty cool. And I don't know if there's any other Cincinnatians on this, but I'm a true Cincinnati. I brought Skyline hot sauce down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon to have on Thanksgiving. Nobody else liked it. I was passing around like, here, try this on stuff, and they were all very polite, and they tried on. Nobody liked it. Sorry, Cincinnatians, it's an acquired taste or something. I don't know. I don't know if that was worth the packing down there, but anyway. Then of course you got to go back up, which is to me it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The down was kind of tougher on my legs. Going up was a little tougher on my wind, but I made it back up, no problem. I hiked up the Bright Angel Trail, which is the trail I showed you in the beginning, and just saw some really amazing landscape as you're going up through the bottom of the canyon. All this about halfway up, and then all the way to the top. And so take a little break at the ranger stop, and then finish your way all the way up. And just at the very top, there's a ram that was silhouetted above the horizon there. That was it. I made it. Oh, yeah. So it was really an incredible thing. And as things go, I kind of let's see, I'll stop my share and come back in here to full screen. As things go, I mean, this was I don't know if it was in the one. It was definitely in one of the greatest things I've experienced in my life is living down there and seeing the night sky as it's supposed to be, as dark it is, because they really are making effort with the group called Dark Sky International, which is doing a lot of efforts to make reduce light pollution. And I've noticed a big difference in the Grand Canyon over the years, and it's getting darker and darker. So it's one of the few places that's like that. And so all I can say is if you haven't gone to a national park and done stargazing there, it's something you got to put on your list because it is incredible. And by and large, the visitors are also really, really into it too. So it's one of those things as an educator, you get to see like an easy audience. It's just awesome because they are really into it and really excited about it as well. So, but thanks for coming on the journey with me and reliving this because I'll be honest, I love talking about this because it takes me back. It takes me back because, coming back into normal life, I think I was telling everybody ahead of time or before the program is like coming back to normal life is hard, man, after you've been out to a real amazing dark sky. And so I just got back from my trip I just got back on Wednesday. So I'm still in kind of a little bit of a daze as to, wait, where am I? Is this Cincinnati? And yeah. Oh yeah, it's 90 degrees and humid. Okay, that's right. That's where I am. But thanks for letting me share. And I don't know if folks have any questions or anything like that, but if you have any other info, if you want to find out a little bit more about this and the program, Astronomer in Residence, you can feel free to message me. Just find me at astrodean.com and be happy to connect and answer questions.
Thank you, Dean. That was amazing. I think are they accepting amateur astronomers or are they looking more for professionals?
Absolutely. Amateur, professional, doesn't matter. It's a blurred line anyway between astronomer, amateur, and professional nowadays.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know what I consider myself anymore. I'm a hybrid. I take amateur astronomer as a badge of pride, so I'll take either one. But yeah, it's open to anybody, and really amazing.
I bet so. The pictures were amazing. I've always thought I would love to hike down to the ranch, but I cannot imagine the train. I mean, I'm not a weekly hiker or anything, so the training that would need to go into that would be amazing.
It's hard. I mean, Cincinnati has its hills and everything, and I live on a hill that's about a 300-foot elevation gain. So I have to walk that 15 times just to get even close to what it'd be
Yeah.
like.
Well, I bet so. But no, your images were amazing. I think it told the story very well. It looks beautiful.
Yes, thanks. It was one of those things where it was like in my life, I like the right amount of danger also. Like there's a little danger, but not really danger. It's more of a, that kind of thing. But one of the other things now, see, here I am encouraging everybody to go walk to the bottom of the Grand Canyon. I need to tell you the other side of it is that every day, literally every day I was down at the bottom, somebody was in big trouble. Like
Yeah.
there is
Like
there
what
is
kind of big trouble?
uh, 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 heat exhaustion,
Oh.
leg injuries, people getting down there without food or water, people thinking they can go from one side to the other in one day. And
Yeah.
so I wasn't, I don't want to consider myself any kind of part of a real rescue, but I was a triage person to a lot of people as they stumbled by my cabin. I got them help. Every single
Oh,
day, there was somebody in trouble.
wow.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. And I had it about as easy it was going to get. So, I'm not as in shape as some of the other people doing it, but
Yeah. Well, I
I
tell
see
you
it.
what. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, look, David has a hand up. I don't know if you want to say something.
Yes, I do. Thank you. I have two comments to make. The first is I loved your presentation.
Thank you.
My first look at the Grand Canyon was with my grandparents in 1967. And I'll never forget the feeling. It was like an eyeful of like I've never seen before. And like you, my brain had trouble processing it. And it was just so beautiful and so wonderful. The second thing goes back actually to T. Corona Borealis. And I wanted to share with you the most beautiful piece of writing I've ever seen on T. Corona Borealis. And it comes from Starlight Nights. And Leslie Peltier wrote how he had read about the outburst in 1866, and he was watching it pretty religiously. And then on the morning of February the 9th, 1946, he got up and he sneezed, and he wasn't really in such a good mood. And he thought, well, maybe I'm getting a cold. I'm just going to go back to sleep. And then he says, and that was when I missed the night of nights in the in the life of T. Corona Borealis. Full 80 years have passed since it shattered the symmetry of the Northern Crown. And reading from Starlight Nights, the poetry this brilliant person was able to put into that book. And the way he ended it was as a mark of friendship. He says, I still watch the star every clear night, but it is now with a wary eye. There is no warmth between us anymore. And just reading that and the friendship that he had with that star was just so beautiful. And it's something that I have gone through since then with that and other stars. And I'm really so glad that you gave your presentation tonight, that you that you were able to share this love of nature's, I think, one of nature's most beautiful sites, the Grand Canyon in Arizona.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks.
I hope everyone at this meeting will be able to get to see what we saw at some point. Thank you, Dean.
I hope so too. And it reminds me of, did you write the book about getting to know the stars, or something like that? Is that what it's?
Yeah.
And that's always struck me that there's stars that I think I know too, which is kind of weird for something trillions of miles away to feel like you know it. But I appreciate that, and I still think about that too.
And I also want to thank you for inviting me to contact with you on LinkedIn.
You just saw that.
I just answered that.
Well, I mean, that you saw the slide. Wasn't that us at Greece in Greece on
Yeah, I
the
saw
boat?
that.
That was
And
us, right?
I thought, is that one of my pictures? Is that one of Dean's?
I
And
don't
it
know who
turns out
took
it was
that.
one of Dean's. And then you said it was me. And I just couldn't believe it.
I know.
But
Look
I
how
thought the
young. Look
best
how
part,
young we look. So young. Ah,
the best part was when you were on looking off at Crater Lake from Mount Scott, which is named in honor of our Scott Roberts, isn't it?
oh yeah, yeah. I assume that's
Uh,
what it was. I assume that's who it was. Yeah. Well, thanks guys so much. I
Wonderful.
appreciate chatting with y'all, and yeah, and it's just a great experience. And I hope folks, if you have other questions, feel free to connect with me on astrodean.com. Happy to hear from everybody.
Dean,
And
what is the altitude at the south rim about?
South Rim's about 7,000, somewhere around there. So North Rim's a little over 8,000. So yeah, it's not too awful, but you feel it. You feel it, that's for sure.
Still some acclamation from we folks in the Midwest.
Exactly, exactly. It usually takes me about a day and a half to get acclimated to it. And I have found the solution. Good shot of whiskey first night, puts you all right by the morning.
Oh, that would make it much better. I'm so glad we had this discussion.
Is it? Yeah. See, it's I don't know if it really helped one thing, but it helped something else. I don't know.
it
I
makes
didn't.
you
I didn't
think it helps.
Our images
exactly.
might get a little blurry or something, or enhanced. I don't know.
Maybe you just don't care anymore. You're breathing heavy. Who cares anymore?
That's it.
But it seemed to work the last 2 times I did it.
Thanks.
All
There's
right.
Lori, who goes by the handle of Lori V Stargazing Awe. She's watching on Facebook. She posted the podcast that you do, the astrodean.com podcast. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's called Looking Up with Dean Regas. And so, yeah, we have new episodes every 2 weeks. So a couple of the last interviews we did the one with Andrian, who was the producer on
wow.
Cosmos, Carl Sagan's widow. We've had astronauts on there, authors. Oh yeah, we had Andy Weir, the author of The Martian, was on
Yeah.
there and talked to him. So yeah, wherever you get your podcast, just look for Looking Up with Dean Regas. Apparently, there's several other Looking Up podcasts, just because I don't know. I guess it's a catchy thing. So, but yeah, Looking Up with Dean Regas, and yeah, you can check those out. That's yeah, wherever you get your podcasts, they should
Yep.
be there.
Great. Great.
That
Okay.
sounds good. That sounds like something good to listen to while you're traveling or yeah. Well,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. Thank you so much. That was really interesting. I really enjoyed that. I did a rafting trip through the Grand Canyon, and you know how you talked about being at the bottom and looking up, and it's so dark. I remember one night where the moon had just barely put out, it was a very small phase, and it lit up just the lights of the sides of the canyon. And it was, I'll never forget that view. I mean, I'm used to seeing the Grand Canyon from above. When you see it from below, it really is different. And I'll just never forget the view of the moonlight on the rocks lighting it up and how dark the sky was with those stars look like diamonds.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think that a lot of people have been
It
talking
looked
about
like diamonds and velvet. It was just absolutely beautiful.
yeah, the rafting trip is I've been invited to do one of those, but I'm a little scared to death of water more than mules even. So I think I'll do my own 2 feet for now as long as they can pack all my stuff down for me, that's fine. But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the mules would scare me to death.
yeah,
I
there was two things that they warned me about. They said, there's some snakes of it, but that's pretty unlikely. Tarantulas, pretty unlikely, but scorpions, yes. And they were like, check your boots every day because they'll be in your boots. And I don't know if they were messing with me or not because they knew I had a little fear of scorpions, but I only saw one scorpion down there the whole time. That was when they light up with a black light at night,
yeah,
which is make them even more terrifying. Just
yes. Yeah, that does. Uh, we were at Alcon in Bryce Canyon. Somebody was out there where I was standing with one of the speakers, and they had their black light shining. I said, I do not even want to see it. You find it? I don't want to find it.
I don't
Yeah.
want to know about it either.
No, definitely not. So, all right. Thank you, Dean. That was amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
Wow. It's been a really good night. I've been enjoying this a lot.
That's
So,
good.
we will see everybody in Kansas City. All of you out there viewing, thank you for being there. Please come to Kansas City. We'd love to meet you and talk to you. And David Levy will be there, and he'll be speaking, and we'll be at the library with him. And Carol will be hanging out. There'll be vendors there. It will be a good time, I guarantee you. And it will be nice to meet people face to face that we've only seen, here on Zoom, but that's better than nothing. So, Scott, I think I'm going to hand it back to you and let you
Oh,
close out. Thank you,
all
Scott.
right. Okay, well, thank you very much. I do want to, something we don't often plug on this program is the reflector, and I get my copy of the reflector each and every time, and it's just got beautiful illustrations in it. There are wonderful articles. It's a fantastic publication. How long has the reflector been out, Terry?
Wow, Carol, how long has it
Probably
been?
started about mid-40s or early
40
50s.
something.
It's called
Yeah.
something
Yeah, I mean,
different back
it's
then, but it's been in one form or
certainly one of
another.
the oldest
About early
continually
50s.
published astronomy magazines, and certainly with the thought of serving its members. But if you're a great astrophotographer, they publish beautiful works, and so yeah, join the Astronomical League. Go to astroleague.org. Go and join, or join a local club that's a league club, and get your reflector magazine. So, but I think that's all I have to add right now, except that it was a wonderful lineup that you put together again, Terry. It's you always do a high quality job with this, and I'm always impressed. So,
Thank you.
yep,
It's the speakers. I'm always impressed with all of them.
yep. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Well, the next time we come on, probably should be live from the Astronomical League convention itself. So,
Thank you. I forgot to mention there is no Astronomical League live in July because we will all be at Kansas City. And maybe you'll be doing some interviews at Kansas City too.
absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, we
So,
will come back with Astronomical League Live. I believe it's on July 14th. And we'll talk more about that as that gets a little bit closer. I did forget about that. Thank you, Scott.
okay. All right. Okay. Well, thanks very much, Terry. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And, if you enjoy the show, make sure you tell your friends about it, and, do what you can to join the world's greatest federation of amateur astronomers and astronomy clubs. So, the Astronomical League does a lot with all of its observing programs, its awards, all the encouragement it does with a largely all volunteer staff here. So, so that's something that makes it really amazing, as well as that the amount of energy and love and care that goes into this whole program that makes the Astronomical League. All right, I've got just a little video to show before we totally close out, but you guys have a good night, have a great weekend. It's Father's Day on Sunday, so don't forget that. And we got some cool stuff going on in the sky with the comet, and I think there's also maybe a little bit of a conjunction going on with the moon, if I'm correct about that. So, so have fun and keep looking up.
In 2009, NASA launched the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, a bold mission to map our moon in such detail that future crewed and robotic missions could not only land safely, but also go to scientifically important locations. With the start of the Artemis missions, the future is now, as NASA prepares to send humans to the lunar South Pole. This region is of particular scientific interest because it features areas of extended sunlit illumination and permanent shadow, is known to contain resources like water, and sits on the rim of the oldest impact crater in the Earth-Moon system. Over the years, LRO's suite of scientific instruments has delivered as promised, giving us incredible new views and data on this terrain, helping us build a roadmap for exploration. So follow this series as we take a look at how the LRO mission is laying the groundwork for Artemis science. One of the instruments on LRO is the Lunar Orbiter Laser Altimeter, or LOLA. It provides topographic data on the lunar surface, revealing slopes and surface roughness, helping us create models of lunar gravity and surface brightness, as well as high-resolution 3D maps of the moon. In this visualization, the colors correspond to different elevations found amongst the craters and mountains of the South Pole region. Having accurate elevation data is essential for landing site selection, surface navigation, identifying areas where resources can be found, and planning the design of future lunar infrastructure. In addition, studying the elevation and topography of the moon contributes to scientific research about its geological history, formation processes, and ongoing changes. By analyzing elevation data, scientists can learn more about the moon's past volcanic activity, impact history, and tectonic processes. The global terrain mapping by LOLA also makes it possible to simulate sunlight and shadow on the moon at any date in the past or future. Here, we see a visualization of the region in 2028, depicting the changes in shadowing in 2-hour intervals over the course of the year. This information is vital to Artemis for planning exploration endeavors, since the low sun angles and terrain of the South Pole produce a uniquely challenging lighting environment. In the years since LRO's launch, there have been over 60,000 orbits of the spacecraft and 10 billion laser shots at the lunar surface, making LOLA's data a vital resource for both human and robotic explorers that arrive at the South Pole in the coming years. It's one piece in how LRO is helping NASA usher in a new generation of lunar science.
I also made a little video here in my echoey voice there that I wanted to bring on. Let me see if I can do that here.
I like that color shirt, Scott. That is really nice looking.
How's that?
Oh, nice.
Nice, huh? That's right.
I like it. Definitely.